The way we look at some must-watch movies based on the event.
What are you doing watching this video? Why aren't you at my show?
Meet Indian comedian and actor Sumukhi Suresh and learn some lesser-known facts about birthday boy Chris Hemsworth. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, at these times only on WION E-Club.
Massive turning point in the West Asia conflict. Israel opens Iran war front. Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh killed in Tehran, a targeted attack during a visit to Iran for the new president's inauguration. Nearly 2,000 kilometers away in Beirut, Israel kills a top Hezbollah commander in a targeted strike. West Asia on the boil, war clouds darken, and the threat of a wider conflict grows bigger than ever.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Vielleicht nur als 5%.
Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha Sehgal.
And I'm Hem Korsaran. On World DNA this morning, Neeraj Chopra wins silver in javelin throw at the Paris Olympics with a season best throw of 89.45 meters. Neeraj Chopra scripts history for India, becoming the first ever Indian player to win gold and silver medal in Olympics.
Absolutely. Also on World DNA today, we'll get you a story from West Asia where Israel has now agreed to resume Gaza truce talks on the 15th of August. This at the request of US, Qatar and Egyptian mediators. The question being right now is, will the truce talks yield concrete results this time around? We'll of course be tracking that on the show today. But first, a quick check on the headlines.
Arshad Nadeem creates history by becoming the first Pakistani to win an individual Olympic gold medal. Nadeem stuns defending champion Neeraj Chopra of India to win the men's javelin event at Paris 2024.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi praises Neeraj Chopra for winning a silver medal at the Paris Olympics. Says Neeraj Chopra is excellence personified.
Nobel Peace Laureate Muhammad Yunus takes charge of Bangladesh's caretaker government, hopes to help heal the country convulsed by weeks of violence, forcing Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to quit and flee to India.
Sheikh Hasina's son makes a U-turn, says his mother is back in leadership role. In an exclusive interview to WION, he says Hasina never ordered the use of force.
Israel has agreed to resume Gaza ceasefire talks on the 15th of August at the demand of US, Qatari and Egyptian mediators as regional tensions skyrocket over the war.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia needs to feel the consequence of its war as a major Ukrainian incursion across the Russian border stretches into a third day.
US Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump and Democratic opponent Kamala Harris will debate on the 10th of September on ABC, setting up the first face-to-face matchup between the rivals in what polls show is a close race.
JP Morgan raises the odds of US recession to 35% from 25% probability earlier, cites easing labor market pressures. Fears of US recession sparked a sharp sell-off in global equities earlier this week.
All right, US, Qatar and Egypt have called on Israel and Hamas to resume talks in order to finalize a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal.
Right, Haim. In a joint statement, the three countries urged Israel and Hamas to resume urgent discussions on the 15th of August in Doha or Cairo. The leaders of the three countries have also offered to present a final bridging proposal to resolve the remaining issues between Israel and Hamas at the moment.
Now, responding to this offer, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said that Israel will dispatch a delegation to attend the negotiations and will travel wherever the meet takes place to finalize the details of implementing the framework agreement. Hamas is yet to respond to the proposal. The announcement of talks comes after Hamas named Yahya Sinwar as its new chief.
Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin spoke with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and discussed the steps that Washington has taken in West Asia to defend Israel and secure a Gaza ceasefire, further outlining the arrival of US F-22 Raptors that will not only defend Israel but also protect US forces in the region.
On the ground in Gaza, Israeli forces stepped up airstrikes across the Gaza Strip. It struck two schools housing displaced people in Gaza, killing at least 15 and injuring 30. However, the Israeli military says that it struck Hamas command and control centers and has accused Hamas of exploiting civilians and properties for military purposes.
Meanwhile, thousands of Palestinians in eastern Khan Yunis were forced to flee after the Israeli military ordered another mass evacuation. The order covered large areas in and around Khan Yunis, which is Gaza's largest city.
الحين 6 مرات بنزح من بين سيدي. الحين هاي اللي معاي. فيش اولادي وهي الطفله هذه اللي معاي. بس هي اللي معاي ولا حاجه بهمدك. الدار راحت وكل شيء راح ولا حاجه ضايل. مالناش غير وجه الله احسن من كل شيء.
The Israeli army has also released footage of what it said were airstrikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. IDF said in a statement that they struck a launcher, a militant squad and military buildings in southern Lebanon that belong to Hezbollah.
And this comes day after Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah pledged strong and effective response to the killing of Hezbollah military commander Fuad Shukra, emphasizing that Hezbollah would act alone or with its regional allies.
On the other hand, Yemen's Houthis said that they will coordinate with other members of the Axis of Resistance in any joint operation, further outlining that any decision to respond to Israeli attacks would be made by the Axis as a whole.
عملياتنا صوب فلسطين المحتلة لاستهداف العدو الإسرائيلي، عملياتنا في البحار، عملية الرد الحتمي القادم، وكذلك التنسيق مع المحور في أي عمليات مشتركة. وقرار الرد هو قرار من الجميع على مستوى المحور بكله.
From one war front, let's now shift our focus to another. Our continuous coverage of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Now, after Ukraine launched an unprecedented incursion across the border, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reasoned that Russia brought war to his country and must feel the consequences of it.
Right. He, however, did not directly refer to Ukraine's offensive, which entered the third day on Thursday. In one of the biggest attacks, Ukrainian attacks on Russia of the two-year war, around 1,000 of the country's troops rammed through the Russian border in the early hours of the 6th of August. Heavy fighting was reported near Sudza, where Russian natural gas flows into Ukraine. It has raised concerns over a sudden stop in transit flows to Europe.
Everyone can see that the Ukrainian army knows how to surprise and knows how to achieve results. This is demonstrated by the battlefield, where our soldiers not only withstood the overwhelming force of the occupiers, but also are destroying it in the way necessary to protect Ukraine, our state and independence.
Ukraine's unmanned system forces released a video which is said to show Russian border guards surrendering at the Sudza border crossing point in Kursk region.
A state of emergency has been declared in the region. According to Russian officials, at least 5 civilians have been killed and 31 wounded since Tuesday. Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed the situation with the acting governor of the Kursk region in a meeting on Thursday. The governor informed the president that civilians have been evacuated by trains and buses from zones that are under heavy shelling.
We spoke with the Prime Minister quite recently. Let's assume that the decision on a one-time payment of 10,000 rubles to citizens who need it has been made and the necessary resources will be allocated. In addition, other damage will need to be assessed. Please, together with colleagues from various departments, including the Ministry of Emergency Situations, this work will need to be done. I mean the loss of property, the loss of housing on a full scale. All this will need to be done. And as I always say in such cases, it is imperative to work directly with people to reach out to each family.
Now, even as Russian and Ukrainian forces engage in fierce combat, Russian natural gas continues to flow through Ukraine to Europe,
revealing the uncomfortable truth about Western energy dependency at this point of time. While European leaders loudly condemn Moscow's aggression and impose sweeping sanctions on Russian oil and coal, they quietly allow the lifeblood of Russian gas to keep pumping through pipelines that snake across Ukraine and into the heart of Europe. Ironically, this flow not only props up Europe's energy supply, but also fuels the very war chest that enables Russia's relentless military campaign.
The Sudza gas transfer and measuring stations in the Kursk region of Russia, it's the only entry point for Russian natural gas into the Ukrainian gas transmission system for onward transport to Europe. And this gas continues to flow unabated.
Answering the question about any requests from Russia to Ukraine about Sudza gas transit station, no, there were no requests. The transit route is currently operational. The gas is flowing.
Despite loud proclamations of cutting ties with Russian energy, the European Union has only reduced its reliance on Russian gas by about 2/3 since the invasion began in February 2022.
But the complete severance from Russian gas has remained elusive as European leaders grapple with the fear of an energy crisis that could send heating bills soaring and cripple the key industries. Instead, Europe has opted to continue importing Russian liquefied natural gas in significant volumes, making a mockery of its own sanctions.
Heavy fighting near the Russian town of Sudza, where the major gas transmission hub feeds Europe, has now raised alarms about potential disruptions. A sudden halt in gas flows will spike prices and further destabilize an already volatile energy market. Yet, the West's reluctance to cut the cord on Russian gas reveals that its moral stance against the war is at best selective and at worst complicit. Moving on, U.S. Republican presidential contestant Donald Trump and Democratic opponent Kamala Harris, they will debate on September 10th on ABC News Network.
Now, this sets up the first face-to-face matchup between the rivals in what polls show is an extremely close race.
President Trump had a press conference today. He talked about a lot of things. What if you have a reaction?
Well, I'm glad that he's finally agreed to a debate on September 10th. I'm looking forward to it and hope he shows up.
Are you open to more debate?
I am happy to have that conversation about an additional debate right after September 10th. But sure, she wants two more debate. Like I said, happy to have that conversation.
Trump, on the other hand, said that he wants to add 2 more debates that month on Fox and NBC News.
With all of that being said, I think it's very important to have debates, and we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We've agreed with NBC, fairly full agreement, subject to them, on September 10th. And we've agreed with ABC on September 25th. So we have those 3 dates and those networks.
Meanwhile, Harris and Walz are showing their support for organized labor by appearing at a United Auto Workers event in Detroit. This came after the United Auto Workers unions endorsed their candidacy. Michigan is 1/3 of the blue wall states because of their support for Democrats, and others being Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Trump's inroads in those states propelled him to the White House in 2016, and President Joe Biden's success there helped him win the presidency 4 years later. Harris and Walz were introduced by United Auto Workers President Sean Fine, who implored his members, and I'm quoting here, "This is not a time to be silent."
We were a community of people who looked out for each other.
Right.
Raised by a community of folks who understood that the true measure strength of a leader is not based on who you beat down, it's based on who you lift up.
We know the unions built the middle class. The rest of America has to. You know who doesn't believe that? Donald Trump. Yeah. Don't worry. He's something entirely different. And it really starts with the best vital communities, age, unions, and a word that shots unity. It says, "Go first, we got unity." He's just been circling south.
Harris and Walz have headlined rallies in the battleground states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, drawing tens of thousands of attendees in a fresh sign of how her late entry into the race has galvanized Democrats. The duo's Michigan rally comes ahead of a trip to the Sun Belt states of Arizona and Nevada for rallies on Friday and Saturday.
Now, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Listen to this.
Well, Kamala Harris has not faced the press since becoming the Democrat nominee for president. Former President Donald Trump held a press conference on Thursday at Mar-a-Lago, his first public appearance since Vice President Harris became the Democratic presidential nominee. Trump proposed 3 debate dates with Harris. The first debate set for September 10th. Trump attacked Harris as being weak on crime and a radical leftist. He attacked Harris also for avoiding media interviews, as polls show a tight race between the two. Meanwhile, Harris and her running mate Tim Walz are showing support for organized labor at a union auto workers event in Detroit. Both campaigns have postponed events due to severe weather, but will resume Friday evening. President Biden will visit the Harris campaign headquarters in Delaware to show support. The highly anticipated debate on September 10th is expected to be a pivotal moment in the campaign, with Trump and Harris facing off on key issues. Susan Terfani reporting from New York for WION World One.
Well, it has been quite a week for Bangladesh, from a wave of extrajudicial deaths on Sunday to Sheikh Hasina's abrupt resignation and now departure from the country on Monday.
Now, the nation might finally be coming back on track. This after Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus took oath as the head of Bangladesh's interim government.
Using the means of revolution, Bangladesh will create its new dawn of victory. Keeping this vision ahead of us, we have to keep going. I want to express my gratitude and praise the youths who've made this possible. They have protected this country and given it rebirth, and we wish for this new Bangladesh to progress with speed.
Shortly after Yunus was sworn in, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi greeted him. Prime Minister Modi said India hopes for an early return to normalcy, ensuring the safety and protection of Hindus and all other minority communities. He added that India is committed to working with Bangladesh to fulfill the shared aspirations of both the countries for peace, security and development.
Nobel Peace Laureate Muhammad Yunus was sworn in as leader of Bangladesh's new interim government on Thursday. Yunus made an emotional return home to Bangladesh after weeks of student protests killed about 300 people and injured thousands, forcing Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to resign and flee to neighbouring India. A harsh critic of Hasina, the 84-year-old arrived in Dhaka from Paris, where he'd been receiving medical treatment. Protesters had backed him to head the caretaker government, which is tasked with holding elections for a new leader. People in the capital, Dhaka, welcomed his appointment, hoping for a new era in Bangladeshi politics.
The example that the young generation is set of giving this country a rebirth, we are expecting that Yunus will be able to take it further to reconstruct our nation.
I earnestly request the new government to put an end to bad politics in the country so the poor working class can live in peace.
The economist, known as the banker to the poor, received the 2006 Nobel Peace Prize for founding a bank that pioneered the fight against poverty through small loans to needy borrowers. Yunus was sworn in as chief of a team of advisors at the official residence of President Mohammed Shahabuddin. Two student leaders in their 20s who led the protests, Nahid Islam and Asif Mahmood, will also join the caretaker government, local media reported. Hasina's Awami League party does not figure in the interim government after she resigned on Monday. In a post on Facebook, her son said the party had not given up and was ready to hold talks with opponents and the interim government. Hasina's flight from the country came after she ruled for 20 of the last 30 years, after winning a fourth straight term in January. The student-led movement that ousted Hasina grew out of protests against quotas in government jobs that spiralled in July, provoking a violent crackdown, though the government denied excessive use of force. The protests were fueled also by harsh economic conditions and political repression in the country.
Taylor Swift fans grappled with sorrow, anger and disbelief after the singer's 3 Vienna concerts were abruptly cancelled.
And this was after the government's announcement that security officials had uncovered a planned attack at the venue. A total of some 195,000 Swifties had been expected for the concerts at Vienna's Ernst Happel Stadium. Many have travelled from abroad for a chance to see the pop superstar live.
Well, I got tickets from my friend for our daughters, and we planned all year to be here, so what a huge disappointment for our friends.
Oh yes, we all came from San Francisco, and we waited over a year because today is her 13th birthday, but it's really special to come here and find other Swifties, so we're really happy that we found everybody to sing happy birthday to her today.
The 34-year-old singer, songwriter, she's yet to issue a public statement. Inspired by Swift's 2019 Cornelia Street, dozens of her fans went to Vienna's Cornelius Street on Thursday afternoon. The street has been an unofficial pilgrimage point for Swift's fans in recent days. Fans sang their favorite Swift songs while sharing their disappointment, along with handmade friendship bracelets, which are inspired by one of her 2022 album songs and are swamped among Swifties.
Meanwhile, Austrian police detained 3 people suspected of plotting attacks. The main suspect, a 19-year-old Austrian who has North Macedonian roots, had allegedly masterminded a plot to attack Swift fans in Vienna with a bomb or a knife and had pledged allegiance to the Islamic State militant group. NASA's latest space mission, it spiraled into a catastrophic failure,
leaving 2 astronauts stranded in orbit with no clear path home. Our next story explains what should have been a landmark moment for Boeing's Starliner spacecraft has now turned into a debacle. Take a look.
Boeing's blunders have marooned 2 astronauts, and NASA is scrambling for options. The first manned mission aboard Boeing Starliner on June 5th has unraveled as a nightmare. A swift and relatively routine 8-day trip of astronauts Barry Wilmore and Sunitha Williams to the International Space Station has now turned into an 8-month ordeal. The situation is dire. Starliner's propulsion system has sprung leaks. Thrusters have failed and confidence in Boeing's spacecraft has plummeted. With the return to Earth now fraught with risks, NASA is considering abandoning Starliner entirely for this mission and relying on SpaceX's Crew Dragon to bring the stranded astronauts back. This would mark a debilitating humiliation for Boeing that is struggling to compete in the new space race. NASA is now caught in a bitter internal debate over whether to gamble on Starliner or admit defeat and call in SpaceX. The Crew Dragon, initially scheduled for a 4-person mission, might have to be reconfigured to carry Wilmer and Williams back to Earth in early 2025, if NASA makes the call. The fiasco has also shaken public faith in NASA's ability to manage complex space missions, and the agency's reputation as a bastion of technological excellence has been tarnished. The American Space Agency also had to delay its ambitious Artemis mission to return astronauts to Moon. Its other projects on Mars are also facing similar hiccups. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And with that, it's time now for a short break.
But don't go anywhere. On the other side of this short break, we'll get you a story from India, where the Indian Space Research Agency, ISRO, will be executing its 3rd launch mission of this year. India's smallest rocket, Small Satellite Launch Vehicle, or SSLV, will be carrying the Earth Imaging Satellite EOS-08 to the orbit.
Also in India, security agencies are set to deploy AI-powered security systems around the Red Fort for the country's Independence Day. We'll get you all the details on this on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Anger, protests, death and curfews since Nigerians nationwide rallied for the first of the 10 planned Days of Rage. over a deepening cost of living crisis. President Bola Tinubu appeals for protests to end after bloodshed. Kenya introduces slam dams to various regions in efforts to protect communities from floods. And meet wild, charming, smart courage, a male catwalk coach who is changing the stereotypes about fashion. Wild of Africa at these times on WION World is One.
As Paris Olympics 2024 is currently underway, we look at some must-watch movies based on the event.
What are you doing watching this video? Why aren't you at my show?
Meet Indian comedian and actor Sumukhi Suresh and learn some lesser-known facts about birthday boy Chris Hemsworth. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, at these times, only on WION E-Club.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at yowon.com.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show. Let's get started with the headlines first.
Arshad Nadeem creates history by becoming the first Pakistani to win an individual Olympic gold medal. Nadeem stuns defending champion Neeraj Chopra of India to win the men's Javelin event at Paris 2024.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi praises Neeraj Chopra for winning a silver medal at the Paris Olympics, says Neeraj Chopra is excellence personified.
Nobel Peace Laureate Muhammad Yunus takes charge of Bangladesh's caretaker government, hopes to help heal the country convulsed by weeks of violence, forcing Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to quit and flee to India.
Why we as a family made the decision that we cannot let the Awami League suffer. So the U-turn wasn't because of us, because of what we want. It was for the sake of the Awami League, for the sake of our party.
We know what to do.
Israel has agreed to resume.
After Yunus takes oath as head of interim government, Sheikh Hasina's son makes a U-turn, says his mother is back in leadership role. In an exclusive interview to WION, he says Hasina never ordered the use of force.
Israel has agreed to resume Gaza ceasefire talks on the 15th of August at the demand of US, Qatari and Egyptian mediators as regional tensions skyrocket over the war.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia needs to feel the consequence of its war as a major Ukrainian incursion across the Russian border stretches into a third day.
U.S. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump and Democratic opponent Kamala Harris will debate on the 10th of September on ABC, setting up the first face-to-face matchup between the rivals in what polls show is a close race.
JP Morgan raises the odds of US recession to 35% from 25% probability earlier, cites easing labor market pressures. Fears of US recession sparked a sharp sell-off in global equities earlier this week.
History was created in Paris on Thursday as Arshad Nadeem won Pakistan's first ever individual Olympic gold medal by clinching the men's javelin title.
Nadeem blew apart the high-quality field by setting the Olympic record, while defending champion Neeraj Chopra of India took the silver medal.
Chopra, who also holds the World Championship title, entered the final as the favourite. However, it was his friend and rival Nadeem who stole the show. The World Championship silver medalist delivered the best throw in Olympic history with a staggering effort of 92.97 meters, which is almost 2.5 meters more than the previous Olympic record that was set in 2008. His competitors did not even get close to Nadeem's mark. Chopra's only valid attempt was that of 89.45 meters, which was enough to get him the silver medal. The 26-year-old fouled on his 5 other attempts. Grenada's Anderson Peters won bronze with a throw of 88.54 meters. Such was Nadeem's dominance that even after he was assured of gold, he threw 91.79 meters in his last attempt to cap off one of the greatest track and field performances.
For context, Chopra won gold at Tokyo 2020 with a throw of 87.58 meters. That effort would have seen him finish 6th in Thursday's final. And as for Nadeem, he has etched his name in history and will be given a hero's welcome in Pakistan. This is Pakistan's first gold medal since the 1984 Los Angeles Games, when the hockey team won the title, and first Olympic medal since 1992.
For more on this, we're now being joined by Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik. Anas, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA this morning. Of course, history was made at the Paris Olympics on Thursday. This is such a historic win for Pakistan, Anas. To begin with, what is the mood like in the country?
certainly so, it is quite historic for Pakistan. And in Pakistan, 11,689 days is what the Pakistani public had to wait for the medal-less drought to end at the Olympics. The last time Pakistan won any medal at the Olympics was an Olympic bronze in the field hockey, and that was again on the 8th of August, exactly 32 years ago. And then on the 8th of August 2024, history was made when Arshad Nadeem clinched that gold medal. The mood, well, last night we saw quite a lot of celebrations outside his house and at his residence in Mia Channu in Pakistan's Punjab. There were jubilations, there were fireworks, the Prime Minister, President, everyone's been congratulating him. The Prime Minister has announced that Arshad Nadeem will be accorded a hero's welcome as and when he returns. But his story is something that can define the phrase that success has many fathers, because if you go back in time, it was the same Arshad Nadeem when he came after clinching that silver medal in the Commonwealth Games. None of the officials from the government were actually even there at the airport to receive him. His story is of sheer grit, determination, and an individual's passion towards the sport, which of course now everyone from the government would now want a cake and a piece of cake from that victory. Him?
Right, Anas, you do speak of his journey and that of sheer dedication. I also want to add here that Nadeem comes from a humble background, and he earlier did not even have enough money to buy a javelin, and now he's won an Olympic gold. Talk to us more and take us through his journey.
Well, he started athletics in 2012, so about 12 years ago. And as a 15-year-old, the first time he participated in the Punjab Youth Festival, and he took up javelin as a sport back then. You'd be very surprised, just past this March, about 3 months ago, he did not have an international standard javelin, and that is what defines. He was using the same javelin for the past 7 to 8 years, which eventually broke. He made appeals to the government, and eventually a cricket franchise, Multan Sultans, had to step in to arrange an international standard javelin for him. He's never been trained internationally up until these Olympics. You'll be very surprised. He was to be sent by the Pakistani Federation, Olympics Federation, and the Sports Federation to South Africa, but he was not able to even obtain a South African visa. He made an appeal to the Prime Minister. He met the Prime Minister, and only then it was made possible that he could have gone to South Africa. So his journey, I mean, it's genuinely one for the movies. He comes from a very, very humble background, as you rightly mentioned. The visuals that we saw last night really defined on who Arshad Nadeem is, and this victory, the government hopes, and he himself hopes, that this can be a benchmark for allowing younger athletes and giving them more and more opportunities for them to be able to shine and excel on international arenas.
Right. Well, Anas, also, of course, you touched on this earlier, that he will be given a hero's welcome once he comes back. Any other celebrations that have been planned?
Well, the celebrations are ongoing at his residence and outside his residence. What we know surely is that there can be a break from the protocol, and the Prime Minister might, it's still in the works. That's what we've heard from the sources, that as and when Arshad Nadeem's return is planned, and that would be probably in this coming week or in the next 72 hours to 96 hours, is what we've been told. The Prime Minister is likely to go himself to receive him at the airport. There will be a victory parade, a victory lap with his gold medal that will be done upon his return. And of course, his house aptly depicts the jubilation and celebratory mode. There are people who have poured in, villagers who have poured in, the same villagers who had initially pooled in money to allow that allowed Arshad Nadeem to go in for a surgery. So as I said, his story is of sheer grit, resistance, and an individual's passion for sport, which is now, of course, being opted at large by the government as well.
Right, Anas, the win has clearly ended Pakistan's 32-year medal drought at the Games. Thank you so much for joining us on World DNA with your insights on this story.
All right, our sports editor Digvijay Singh Deo also caught up with Neeraj Chopra, who has etched his name in the history books once again. He's become only the second Indian male athlete to secure 2 Olympic medals. Listen to this.
History maker, double Olympic medalist Neeraj Chopra is standing next to me. Neeraj, back-to-back Olympic medals आपके लिए बहुत-बहुत बधाई आपको, क्योंकि इसके पहले एथलेटिक्स में कभी हमने एक मेडल नहीं लिया था और आपने 2 ओलंपिक्स में लिया. कैसे लगे देखेंगे अपने कंपटीशन को? इट वाज हाई क्लास, टॉप 5-6 जो थे सब 87-88 फेंक रहे थे.
जी, बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त कंपटीशन रहा और अरशद अच्छी तैयारी में था, उसने बहुत अच्छी थ्रो लगाई. जब अरशद ने थ्रो लगाई, भले ही मैंने अभी तक 90 मीटर का जो मार्क है पूरा नहीं किया, लेकिन जो भी 92.97 था, पता नहीं अजीब सा बिलीव आया खुद में कि मार सकते हैं हम भी. और बहुत ही अच्छी थ्रो थी, लेकिन पता नहीं आज जो रनवे है वो शायद से वो ऐसा नहीं आया जो आना चाहिए था. और वही जो मुझे ग्रोइन में एक प्रॉब्लम रहती है, वो बार बार उसकी तरफ ज़्यादा दिमाग जा रहा था कि ज़्यादा दर्द ना हो जाए. तो एक ही थ्रो, जो सेकंड थ्रो था, वही थ्रो मेरा नप पाया. बाकी सभी फाउल थे, लाइन पे गिर रहा था या फिर जो भी है. पर फाइनली अपने देश के लिए मेडल जीता, वो सबसे अच्छी बात है. और अपना फ्लैग चारों तरफ लेके जाने का मौका मिला, तो वो उसके लिए काफ़ी खुशी है.
एक होता है आप ओलंपिक आते हैं मेडल जीतने के लिए, एक खिलाड़ी का कोड होता है. अरशद आपके साथ बहुत क्लोज है. यू लॉस्ट टू हिम, बट हाउ प्राउड आर यू कि आज उन्होंने इस तरह का परफॉर्मेंस दिया?
नहीं, अच्छा है जी. हमेशा 2016 से अभी तक खेल रहे थे, तो हमेशा जितने भी कंपटीशन खेले, हमेशा भगवान ने अपना साथ दिया. मैं जीतता रहा था. आज अपना दिन नहीं था, आज पूरा भगवान का जो ध्यान था अरशद की तरफ था. और वो अच्छा है कि स्पोर्ट्स में जो भी है, हमको चाहे अच्छे से अच्छा है या बुरे से बुरा एक्सपीरियंस है, हमको एक्सेप्ट करना पड़ता है. क्योंकि एक बार फाइनल हो जाए तो फिर कुछ नहीं रहता है, हमको वो एक्सेप्ट करना पड़ता है. और हमें हमारी जर्नी यही सिखाती है कि हमेशा अपनी मेहनत करते रहो और आगे बढ़ो. तो जो भी आज का है उसको एक्सेप्ट करेंगे, और जो कमी है उनके ऊपर काम करेंगे और आगे पे फोकस करेंगे.
आने से पहले मैंने आपसे पूछा था इंडियन कंटिजेंट के बारे में. इट्स बीन डिसअपॉइंटिंग एज वेल, मेडल्स भी आए हैं. कैसे आप देखते हैं इंडिया का जिस तरह से इम्प्रूवमेंट हुआ इस ओलंपिक्स में?
देखो, मैं थोड़ी देर पहले भी बोल रहा था कि पिछले ओलंपिक्स में क्या था, उससे पीछे क्या था. हम मेडल्स तो गिनते हैं, लेकिन परफॉर्मेंस भी देखो, क्योंकि हम मेहनत कर रहे हैं तो बाकी कंट्री मेहनत कर रही है. और ओलंपिक जैसी जगह पे हमेशा शायद प्लानिंग से चीज़ नहीं होती. प्लान कुछ और बना के आते हैं, शायद उस पर नहीं होता. जैसे कि मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले बताया था कि काफ़ी एथलीट जो वर्ल्ड के टॉप एथलीट है, वो भी शायद फाइनल में नहीं पहुंच पाए, पोडियम फिनिश नहीं कर पाए. तो ऑलरेडी जितना हमारे एथलीट्स ने किया है, वो बहुत ही अच्छी परफॉर्मेंस थी. और ये साइन है कि और अलग अलग स्पोर्ट्स में है. सबसे अच्छी बात यह है, सिर्फ ऐसा नहीं कि भाई 1-2 स्पोर्ट्स में, अलग अलग स्पोर्ट्स में बहुत अच्छी परफॉर्मेंस है. तो हमारे पास काफ़ी अच्छे एथलीट हैं और फ्यूचर काफ़ी ब्राइट है इंडिया का स्पोर्ट्स में. तो मैं यही रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं अपने इंडिया के लोगों से कि निराश ना हो. जो भी परफॉर्मेंस रही है, एथलीट बिल्कुल सीखेंगे. जिसकी अच्छी रही है वो भी यहाँ से काफ़ी कुछ सीख के जाएंगे, जिसकी थोड़ी कमी रही है वो भी सीख के जाएंगे. तो आप साथ देते रहिए और हम मेहनत करते रहेंगे. हमारा जो काम है, हम मेहनत करते रहेंगे. ऐसा मत मानो कि हम एफर्ट नहीं लगा रहे, हम अपनी तरफ से पूरा एफर्ट लगाते हैं. पर वो शायद दिन अपना नहीं होता उस दिन, पर हम मेहनत पूरी करते हैं अपनी कंट्री को रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए और अपनी कंट्री को प्राउड फील कराने के लिए.
थैंक यू नीरज, एंड कंग्रेचुलेशंस वंस अगेन.
थैंक यू.
In a week from now, the Indian Space Research Agency ISRO will be executing its 3rd launch mission of this year.
India's smallest rocket small satellite launch vehicle, or SSLV, will be carrying the Earth imaging satellite EOS-08 to the orbit. The SSLV is India's smallest and newest rocket.
It is made with a specific purpose in mind. While other rockets take 30 to 45 days to assemble, the SSLV can be assembled in less than a week. As the name suggests, SSLV is meant to launch small satellites weighing less than 500 kg into the orbit around the Earth.
ISRO designed and developed the SSLV rocket to enable rapid and low-cost launches of Indian-built satellites. Unlike other ISRO rockets, SSLV is predominantly powered by solid fuel that makes it easy to build, store and launch at short notice. SSLV's maiden flight in August 2022 was not successful, but a second launch in February 2023 was a success. In the latest mission, SSLV will be flying the ISRO-built Earth Observation Satellite 08, that's EOS-08, a spacecraft that weighs all of 175 kilograms.
After a break of 6 long months, the Indian Space Agency ISRO will be carrying out a rocket launch mission in 2024. So this is a mission known as SSLV D3. It will be carrying a satellite EOS-08. The launch is scheduled to take place at 9:17 a.m. India time from Satish Dhawan Space Center. This is scheduled for August 15th, a very special day. This is both India's Independence Day and also the day when ISRO was formally established in the year 1969 under the Government of India. So that's the day when we'll be having a launch taking place. Let's remember that the third developmental flight of SSLV is crucial because it's after the third developmental flight that a rocket is declared fully ready and fully proven. So this is crucial for the rocket. In addition to that, as far as the satellite is concerned, EOS-08 weighs all of 175 kgs, but it carries significant technologies on board. There are 3 payloads. One is an electro-optical and infrared imager which can, picture the Earth during day and night. And in addition to that, there is also another payload which is meant to study Earth's topography, be it oceans, be it the mountains, be it also the snow covers, forest cover and all of that. So the third payload is something that is connected to India's Gaganyaan mission, the astronaut mission. So the third payload is a dosimeter. It measures ultraviolet radiation in space. So this will help before India executes its maiden astronaut mission, a homegrown one known as Gaganyaan. From Chennai, Siddharth MP, WION World is One.
Let's now take a look at all the news coming in from the world of technology. Well, in India, security agencies are set to deploy AI-powered security systems around the Red Fort for the country's Independence Day. Over 700 CCTVs, including 150 with video analytics, will be deployed by the Delhi police. CCTVs with video analytics featuring vehicle number plate recognition, face detection, crowd counting, tripwire alerts, audio detection, intrusion alerts and monitoring of abandoned objects will be installed at key locations. Officials will be using AI-enhanced cameras to monitor entry and exit to provide accurate crowd estimates. Not just that, a face recognition system will be deployed that will identify faces in real time, cross-referencing them with a watch list database in a bid to alert the control room if required. Additionally, a number plate recognition system will operate 24/7, providing real-time vehicle plate detection.
Russian internet monitoring services reported a widespread disruption of access to YouTube on Thursday. This comes as authorities in Russia have intensified their criticism of the platform. According to the monitoring service, issues with YouTube were reported across Russia. Many users noted that they could only reach YouTube through virtual private networks, VPNs. However, some were able to access the site through certain mobile devices. YouTube remains one of the few major platforms for free expression available on the Russian internet. In recent weeks, the site's download speeds have noticeably decreased, with Russian lawmakers blaming YouTube's parent company for the slow speed. Google, however, denies this claim.
What you see on your screen right now is a massive 45-foot wide 3D printer building homes. Similar to how a desktop 3D printer works, 3D printing company Icon's Vulcan printer constructs objects by adding layers one at a time. The layered concrete walls being printed are built to withstand water, mold, termites and harsh weather conditions. Currently, the robotic printer is wrapping up the last few houses in a neighborhood of 100 3D printed homes in Texas. According to the makers, it's the largest 3D printed community in the world. The company claims that 3D printing homes is faster, cheaper, requires fewer workers and reduces material waste compared to other construction. For instance, each single-story 3D printed home takes just 3 weeks to complete.
All right, now we assess if the Bitcoin as digital gold thesis holds any truth after the deep sell-off in cryptos.
Well, the thesis that Bitcoin is an alternative to gold falls flat. If anything, Monday's crash shows cryptos acted like risk assets rather than safe haven bets. Let's dive deep into this next report. Take a look.
The industry axiom that Bitcoin is digital gold and should be included in a portfolio to protect against stock fluctuations is being tested like never before. Bitcoin acted more like stocks than gold when markets plummeted on Monday and carry trades unraveled. At one point, the top token fell 17% to below $50,000 before recovering some of its losses. According to Bloomberg, Bitcoin's correlation with gold turned negative last month. Josh Gilbert, an analyst at eToro, said, "It is unrealistic to think that institutional investors are allocating capital to Bitcoin for the same reason as gold." Gilbert added, "These two assets don't play the same role in investment portfolios." On the other hand, some believe that the significant decline in Bitcoin's value proves that cryptocurrencies are extremely vulnerable to risks. This includes the possibility of a recession. When investors experience panic, cryptos will be on top of the list of assets they unload. The relative scarcity of Bitcoin and gold is a common thread that runs across many comparisons between the two assets. Similar to how the Earth's subsurface gold reserves are limited, the Bitcoin network is programmed to automatically reduce the issuance of new tokens every 4 years, a process called the halving. Still, some analysts are hesitant to dismiss the possibility that the Bitcoin as digital gold theory may be correct. Despite a 13% decline since early July, Bitcoin is still one of the top-performing global assets, having risen 26% so far this year, easily surpassing gold. More than anything else, the introduction of U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs in early January proved the rise. It has failed miserably as an inflation hedge, going up while prices were stubbornly climbing and down when signs of the effects of high interest rates were becoming clear. For now, Bitcoin as a safe haven hedge, the theory is falling flat. Business Bureau Report, WION World is One.
From video game consoles to the big screen, the highly anticipated video game adaptation Borderlands, starring Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart and Jamie Lee Curtis, was a red carpet hit as the cast celebrated on Hollywood Boulevard. More details in our next report.